Hello students, welcome to the video tutorial of Informatics Practices for class 12th. Today we'll be discussing the second part of the chapter Societal Impacts. As in the previous video tutorials, we have already discussed that what is meant by a society and what are the various societal impacts of using the internet services over the society. Okay. Also, we have discussed about this email etiquettes, that what should be the proper format of sending the email and how it should give the impressions over the readers of your mail. Then we have discussed about this ethical issues, and then we have discussed about this intellectual property rights, that what type of rights are there to the particular owner of the information. Then also we discussed about the digital property rights, then what are the various threats to these digital properties, and digital properties protections are also there. Then we have discussed about the plagiarism and how the content of the users are being copied and how we can protect this plagiarism. Okay, so all these things we have already discussed. Now we are going to discuss about the open source softwares. Okay, on this I've already told you that what is meant by open source software. That is, open source software means basically you are referring to those softwares which licenses do not impose any conditions over the users of those softwares, that how they can use those softwares and how they can modify those softwares. Okay, so that type of softwares comes under this open source software. So here we are going to discuss about the terminology, that is the free software and the open source softwares. Now, the free software means the software which is freely accessible and can be freely used, changed, improved, copied, and distributed by all who wish to do so. Okay, so and no payments are needed to be made for these free softwares. So already we are using many types of softwares which are free. So all those softwares are free softwares. That is, it can be easily accessible. Okay, no charge has to be given for those softwares, and those softwares can be changed, improved, and all those things. And the copies of the softwares can be distributed too. Okay, so that type of softwares are the free softwares. Okay, now let's see about the licenses, that what should be the proper way in which these licenses should be used. So first thing is no discrimination against person or groups. That means the license must not discriminate against any person or group of persons. It should not be like that this type of persons are there, these people are designated for using those softwares. Okay, so free softwares means it is not limited, it is not having any discrimination over the society. All the people are having the access to those softwares freely. Okay. Next thing is no discrimination against fields of endeavor. That is, the license must not restrict anyone from making use of the program in a specific field of endeavor. For example, it may not restrict the program from being used in a business or from being used for a genetic research. Okay, so you cannot means the free software should be such a way that any type of use of that software is not restricted. Okay, it should not be like it can be used in these particular fields only, and for these fields it is restricted. Okay, so for all the fields of endeavor there should be no discrimination. Okay. Next thing is the distribution of the licenses. The rights attached to the programs must apply to all to whom the program is redistributed. Okay, so that means if you have got that software, if you have downloaded those free software, and when you are distributing that software, the same license has to be applied over the distributed software also. It should not be like that the person who has downloaded the software is having some different license over the software, and the person to whom he has distributed the software is having another license. Okay, so the free software is basically having the distributions also in the similar license way in which the person originally who has got that software. Okay, licenses must not be specific to a product, but you can easily understand that means there should not be a condition on the programs being part of a particular software distribution. That's not necessary. Okay, so there must be no specific license for a product. Okay, so the license must not be specific to a product. It is not necessary that, sorry, it is not, you can't say that it's necessary. It should be the rule that if suppose software has been created and different products are there under that software, so it is not limited to a particular product. Okay, it should be applied over all the products. That is only mentioned here. There must not be a restriction on the rights attached to the program. That is, there should not be a condition on the programs being part of a particular software distribution. It is not necessary that it has to be a part of the software only, then only it is going to provide the free software. okay, or the free licenses. It should be in such a way that no particular restrictions should be there over the product being used. Okay, the license must not restrict other softwares. Now, the license must not place restrictions on other software that is distributed along with the licensed software. For example, the license must not insist that all other programs distributed on the same medium must be open source software. So it should not be like that. That if you have used a particular software, okay, the license, it should not restrict that particular software, that is going to means not allow other softwares to be installed in that. Okay, that means the license must not insist that all other programs, this whatever other softwares or the other programs you are distributing on the same medium must be open source. So it is not going to restrict it that all the software should be open source only. The rest of the softwares can be open source or it may not be open source. Okay, so it is not going to limit the rights of other the softwares. Getting it? Next thing is the license must be technology neutral. That means no provisions of the license may be predicated on any individual technology or style of interface. Okay, that means it should be technology neutral. Okay, it is not necessary that it should use this technology, then only I'm going to allow this software. Okay, or then only we are providing this license. It should be technology neutral. Okay, next thing, a software which is free as well as open belongs to the category FOSS, that is free and open source software, like the Python. So Python is a free and open source software. Okay, so it is also free as well as it belongs to the open source. So it is mentioned here the term free and open represent a differing emphasis on importance of freedom or technical progress. Okay, so you can distribute the codes also, you can modify the codes also without any payment. Okay, it is free to use. So that's why it is under this POS, that is free and open source software. Okay, now let's see the definitions of these type of softwares. First thing is OSS and flaws. So OSS refers to the open source software, which refers to the software whose source code is available to the customers and it can be modified and redistributed without any limitations. Okay. So flaws refers to the free, libre and open source software. If you are going to write flaws, okay, FOSS was earlier this free and open source software. But when you are talking about flaws, so flaws means free, libre and open source software or to free, libre and open source software. The term flaws is used to refer to a software which is both free software as well as open source software. Okay. So here the word libre, a Spanish word, and libre, a Portuguese word, means freedom. So when you're talking about this libre, means you are having a liberty or freedom to use it. Okay. So that's why we can consider it under flaws. Okay. So this is OSS and flaws. That means open source softwares and the free, libre and open source softwares. Okay. Next thing is the GNU. The GNU refers to the GNU is not Unix. Okay, so it is basically a recursive acronym. Recursive acronym means the first word is itself the full form of that particular reference we are talking about, like Visa. So in Visa, you are having this Visa International Service Association. So what is this V symbolizing? V itself is a visa. Getting it? That means we are trying to get the full form of this visa, and is inside this visa the V itself referring to the visa, and then I is referring for international, S is referring to service, and A is referring to association. In the similar way, this GNU is a recursive acronym. So in this GNU's, G is referring to GNU itself, okay, and then NU is referring to not Unix. So what this GNU was earlier doing, it was used for development of the soft operating systems, okay. But later on, with the development of the technology, it has enlarged its fields, and now it is not limited to the operating system only. It has also got the functionalities to offer you wide range of softwares, including applications apart from the operating system. So it is going to provide you the systems, other softwares also other than the operating systems. Okay. Next thing is the FSF, that is the Free Software Foundation. It is a non-profit organization created for the purpose of supporting free software movement. Okay, so it has stand up for the cause that certain set of softwares have to be made, and it have to be made free to the users so that it is not going to capitalize those softwares. Okay, that means it should not be restricted to the ownership of the software. They work for providing you the uh, free softwares. Okay, so that certain set of people who are not able to pay those pay means hefty amount for those softwares can easily get access to these softwares and use it. Okay. Next is the OSI. So OSI is the open source initiative. It is an organization dedicated to the cause of promoting open source software. Okay. Next is the freeware. The term freeware is generally used for the software which is available free of cost and which allows copying and further distribution, but not modification. Okay, so this is the important thing, but not modification. Okay, that means the software is free. Okay, and it is available for free of cost, and it allows you for copying and further distributing also. Okay, so if a person has downloaded the software freely, that person is also having the right to distribute it, and others can easily just copy it and use it freely. Okay, but the problem here is that it cannot be modified, so the modification is not allowed and whose source code is not available. So that type of softwares are freeware softwares. Okay, one example is the Microsoft Internet Explorer, which is made available as freeware. Okay, so it is basically a ready to run software, so it is already installed in your particular system, and when you are going to use it, it is already installed, so you are going to use it freely without any problems. Okay, so that type of softwares are the freeware, so you can distribute it, no problem with that. The Internet Explorer, the person who has got, he can easily distribute it to the others also, but only the problem is that the source code is not available to them and they cannot modify the codes of that software. Okay, they can use it freely, no problem, but they cannot modify the codes. Next thing is the W3C. So W3 is an acronym for World Wide Web Consortium. So this W3C has got the responsibility for producing the software standards for the World Wide Web. Okay. So the softwares which are associated with the World Wide Web, so these are being means monitored by this World Wide Web Consortium. Okay. So this W3C was created in October 1994 to lead the World Wide Web to its full potential by developing common protocols that promote its evolution and ensure its interoperability. Interoperability, you understand that it can operate over other, means you can give it across platforms. Okay, so the World Wide Web Consortium describe itself as follows. The World Wide Web Consortium exists to realize the full potential of the web. The W3C is an industry consortium that seeks to promote standards for the evolution of the web and interoperability between World Wide Web products by producing specifications and reference. Okay. Next thing is the proprietary software. So this proprietary software is a software that is neither open nor freely available. Okay, so these softwares are those softwares which is not free also, and it is also not open source. So you are not going to have the access to the licenses of the software also. You have to pay for the softwares, and also if you have paid it, you are not having the source code also. Getting it? So it is not open source also, and it is not freely available. So these type of softwares are the proprietary software. Now its use is regulated, and further distribution and modification is either forbidden or requires a special permission by the supplier or vendor. Now suppose if a particular person has downloaded the software, this proprietary software, if it's trying to distribute that software, in that case also the particular person who has copied that software is not having the license to work over it. Okay, so he needs to purchase it too. Getting it? So these type of software are the proprietary software. So you are not having the free source also, that is not open also, and you have to pay for the software also. These type of software comes under this proprietary software. Next is the shareware. So in this shareware, it is available with the rights to redistribute copies, but it is stipulated that if one intends to use the software, often after a certain period of time, then a license fee should be paid. So these type of softwares are basically trial version software. That means in the beginning, if a particular software has been distributed also, it has been copied, so that is not a problem in this. You can have made available with the rights to redistribute the copies, but it is only for a trial period. Okay, if you are using that software for the certain set of months or certain set of weeks, then it is going to provide you the certain set of functionalities for free, but after a certain period of time it will ask you to pay for the license. Okay, these type of software comes under this share. Okay, now next thing is the copylefted software. So copylefted software is a free software whose distribution terms ensure that all copies of all version carries more or less the same distribution terms. Okay, so what it is mentioned here, that copylefted software is a free software. First thing is it is a free software. Next thing, whose distribution term ensure that all copies of all version. That means if you have certain set of versions of that software, so whatever the version a particular user has downloaded, if he is sharing that software, okay, or distributing that software, then it should carry more or less the same distribution terms. Okay, this means, for instance, that copyleft licenses generally disallow others to add additional requirements to the software, okay, and require making source code available. This shields the program and its modified versions from some of the common ways of making a program proprietary. So there is a possibility that people can make that copylefted software into a form of, means, uh, people can just download that software for free, and they can modify the source code, and next they can make it a proprietary software. But for providing protection over this type of thefts, there is a license here, that is the copylefted software. So what it will do, it will, means, see, it is mentioned here that this means, for instance, that copyleft license generally disallow others to add additional requirements. So whatever the license has got the limitations, it cannot add any additional requirement in that, so it will not allow them to make it a proprietary software. Okay, so this is the profit of using this copylefted software. Okay, all these terms are license terms. So when you are going to create any software, and when you are trying to public that software, in that cases these softwares are being used. Okay, so next thing is the copyright and other licenses. Now let's see what is there in this. The licenses are the permissions given to use a product or someone's creation. Copyright is a related term which you must know. Copyright defines the ownership rights. Okay, so you can understand this thing, that copyright basically refers to the ownership rights. A copyright is a collection of rights that authentically or automatically vest to the creator of an original creative work, such as a literary work, a design, a song, a movie, or software. Okay, so anything it can be. It can be literary work, it can be design, or a song. Okay, so all these things can have a copyright of their own. Okay, a copyright holder can give licenses to use its work in a specific way. So the licenses are the permissions given to use a product or someone's creation by the copyright holder. Okay. So what is the copyright and the license? It is clear to you. Again, I'm telling you about the license. The license is the permission which is given to use a product or someone's creation by the copyright holder. So the person who's having the copyright over that particular data, or whatever it is, a movie or a software, anything. So he is having the right to give these licenses. Okay. So the licenses are the permission which are given to use a product of someone's creation, that is the person who has created that product or software, and he is having the copyright over this, so he is going to provide the permissions that how that softwares are going to be used. Okay, so that is called the licenses. Getting it? Now there is a new term, that is the copyleft. So copyleft is basically the opposite term of copyright. So the copyleft offers users the right to freely distribute and modify the original work, but only under the condition that the derivative work be licensed with the same rights. Its symbol is also flipped copyright symbol. Okay, so copyright symbol is going to provide the restriction that it is being used by the particular user or the creator of the program, and it cannot be used against any permissions which have been offered by the copyright owner. Okay, but when you are talking about the copyleft, so it is basically opposite of the copyright. So all the restrictions which have been provided by the copyright is going to be removed in that, but only there is a problem that whatever the offering has been done, or whatever the codes have been modified in that, again it has to be initiated with the copyleft symbol. So the other people who are going to use that, they can also going to get, means, the free software and the free code, and they can access to the manipulation of the codes as well. Okay, now the next thing is licenses and domains of open source technology. Now the first thing is the GNU public license, that is the GNU GPL. Okay, so the GNU GPL, that is the general public license, is probably one of the most commonly used licenses for free and open source projects. So there are certain set of terms on which this GPL licenses offers. So the first thing is copy the software. Now if the issuer of the copyright is giving the GPL license, so certain set of permissions are there for the other users who are going to use that software. Okay, so first thing is that copy the software. That means the copy the software as many times as they need. There is no limit to the number of copies one can make. Second thing, distribute the software however you want. So there is no restriction of distribution methods and styles, and can be in copied form or printed form or web link form. Charge a fee to distribute the software. After modifying the software, you can even charge for your software, explaining why you are charging them, but the software should still be under GNU GPL. Okay, and make whatever modifications to the software you want. So basically, when you're talking about the GNU GPL, so you are saying that it is offering certain set of freedom to the users. The first thing is they can copy the software, they can distribute the softwares however they want. Okay, they can even charge a fee to distribute the softwares, but they have to provide a particular reason that on what charges they are using this particular software. Okay, and how they are restricting the rights, why they are restricting the rights. Okay, so all these things have to be given for getting a payment of that particular software. Okay, also they can make whatever modifications they want in their software. So these things comes under this GPL license. Okay, next thing is the GNU Lesser General Public License. So it is offering up almost the similar rights with the GPL, but there is a bit lesser rights in this General Public License, a lesser freedom for that. And the important point is differentiating between lesser GPL and GPL is that here you can see the LGPL and GPL license differ with one major exception. With LGPL, the requirement that you have to release software extensions in OpenGPL has been removed. Okay, so in this LGPL, the requirement that you have to release software extension is there. Okay, so when you are using this LGPL, that means the software has to provide the soft it has to provide the release of the software extensions also. Okay, but in OpenGPL, it is not going to means restrictive for that. Okay, so it is mentioned here. With LGPL, the requirement that you have to release software extensions in OpenGPL has been removed. Okay, so in OpenGPL you have to provide the release of the software, but in LGPL it is not required, it has been removed. Okay, so that is the only difference between the LGPL and GPL. So mostly LGPL is used by libraries. LGPL is also called the GNU libraries and formerly called the library GPL. Okay, next is the BSD license. So BSD licenses represents a family of permissive free software licenses that have fewer restrictions on distribution compared to other free software licenses. Okay, now the first thing is the new BSD license, modified BSD license. So under this, the new BSD license, 3-clause license, allows unlimited redistribution for any purpose as long as its copyright notices and licenses disclaimers of warranty are maintained. Okay, so till the time you are having the warranty or the disclaimers of the licenses, you can redistribute it unlimited number of times. Okay, the license also contains a clause restricting use of the names of the contributors for endorsement of a derived work without specific permission. So you have to be restricted with this thing. The license also contains a clause restricting use of the names of the contributors. Okay, so the persons who have contributed for the product has to be restricted. Okay, they cannot use the contributor's name for the endorsement of a derived work. Okay, and they have to take a specific permission if they want to do so. Okay, next thing is the simplified BSD license. This BSD license is different from new BSD license in the sense that the latter omits the non-endorsement clause. Okay, so now it is not going to restrict this endorsement, it is having the non-endorsement clause. Okay, next is the MIT license. The MIT license is the shortest and probably broadest of all popular open source licenses. So there was a restriction in the GPL licenses, but this MIT license has removed that. Okay, the condition was that in GPL license, the softwares which the particular user were using and the particular users were redistributing and modifying it, but the condition was that it has to be under that same GPL license in which they have got it. Okay, but what is MIT license is doing, it is providing you the softwares for free. You can change the source code also, and you can impose certain set of restrictions over the software which you have developed for them. Okay, so it is providing you better permissions, or it is not restricting you too much for that particular software. So So you can say the MIT license is at the least restrictive open source license. Okay, so the certain set of restrictions which are there under different licenses, under them the MIT license is the least restrictive open source license. Okay, so you can use, copy and modify the software however you want. No one can prevent you from using it in any project. Okay, you can give the software away for free or sell it. Okay, so if you want to give it for free, then also it is not a problem. If you want to charge it, then also that is not a problem. You don't have to ask any special permission to get a payment of those things. While in GPL, if you are selling it, you have to take some special permissions for that. Okay, the only restriction is that it is accompanied by license agreement. It basically says that anyone can do whatever they want with the license material as long as it's accompanied by the license. So till the time you are having the license permission, till that time you can do anything with that material. But if the license is over for a certain set of agreement time, after that the restrictions can be changed. Okay, next thing is the Apache license. So the rights are perpetual in this. That is, once granted, you can continue to use them forever. Okay, there is no certain set of agreement or time limit for these licenses. If you have once granted with these licenses, then you can continue to use them forever. Okay, the rights are worldwide. That is, if the rights are granted in one country, then they are granted in all other countries. It's not restricted to a certain set of country. If once you have got the right in any particular country, it is open for all other countries as well. Okay, there is upfront usage fee, no per usage fee or any other basis either. Okay, so there is not, to mention here, the rights are granted for no fee or royalty. You don't have to give any fee for that or royalty for that. Okay, the rights are granted for free. Okay, there is upfront usage fee, no per usage fee. Okay, so once you have paid for it, you don't have to go for the payment for particular set of users, that how many times you are using it. Only once you have to pay whatever the payment is there for the license. And once you have got the license, there is no other per usage fee for that. Okay, you are not the sole licensee, other can also use the license work. Now this thing is important here, that you are not the only sole licensee here. Other people can have the license over that work also, and they can also use it with the particular set of restrictions which are provided. Okay, it is not exclusively given to you. Okay, so these are non-exclusive. Okay, so rights are irrevocable. That means no one can take these rights away once they are granted. So that means if once you have granted, if you once you have seek that license, once they have granted you the license, they cannot take the rights after some time. That it is, they are not going to say that no, no, that for 5 to 10 years I am giving you the license, but after 11 means now I think that the license was not correct to give you, or it was not appropriate to give you that particular permission, so I'm restricting you from that permission. So that cannot be done. Okay, once they have granted you, you are having the full exclusive, full particular right for those things, and there is no restrictions over time. Okay, so these are the Apache license. Next thing is the public domain software versus the proprietary software. So when you are talking about these things, the public domain software is free and can be used without any restriction. Okay, so public domain software is by its very nature outside the scope of copyright and licensing. So there is no need of license for them. There is no need to put a copyright over them. It is public domain software. It is open for public. Anybody can use it. Okay, but when you're talking about a proprietary software, so proprietary software is going to have no source code available also, and they have to get a particular set of payment for using that software. So it is not free also. Already I've talked that when you are talking about proprietary software, it is not free and it is not open source also. Okay, but when you're talking about the public domain software, so it is out of the scope of the licenses and copyright, so it is free for public domain. Okay, so it is mentioned here, public domain software is free and can be used without any restriction. Okay, so there is also one thing, that the term public domain software is often used incorrectly to include freeware, free software that is nevertheless copyrighted. Public domain software is by its very nature outside the scope of copyright and licensing. So this freeware, free software, this doesn't come under this public domain software. Public domain software means it is not having any type of license also, it is not having any type of restriction also. It is beyond the scope of all these things. Okay, it is open to the public. Okay, so I think that's enough for today, students. The next lecture will be covering the topics of the cyber crime, that is what is hacking, what is spoofing, phishing, Okay, the cyber trolling, so cyber stalking, all these things will be covering in the single video lecture. So till then, students, take care. Thank you, students.